Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for taking some time to join in and listening to our webinar around the direct to phase two open topic. I'm Joey Aurora. I'm one of the managing partners here at the Outpost. And today we're going to jump in and cover any questions about the direct to phase two. We're going to cover some strategies for how to win and be successful. And we're going to go provide an overview of what that direct to phase two open topic is. So without further ado, we'll dive right in. Or we will click the wrong button and go to a different screen. But here we are. We're back. All right. So what is the open topic direct to phase two? It is a dual use approach to national security solutions, specifically run out of the Department of the Air Force by the AF Ventures team, who is a part of AFWorks. It is a program specifically focused on how do we get technologies that are relevant to the military to a prototype stage with the right end users and stakeholders that are part of the government process. The goal is to create a simple open door for companies to engage and create an open pipeline for folks to be involved. And so what is the open topic? Why is it different than a specific topic direct to phase two? Well, the SBIR program is very focused on US small businesses with less than 500 people. And the open topic process is off cycle from any of the other SBIR programs that you might be tracking. And the specific topics are due here today. They were due a couple hours ago. So all the specific topics are for a very specific identified problem that folks are saying, hey, this is the need that we have. The open topic is a little bit different in that it is looking for a non-defense commercial solution to adapt to warfighter needs. You need to have a government champion and someone who is the customer who says, yes, they can buy that product, and someone who is the end user saying, I'm going to use this capability to say, yes, this is something we need. And the direct to phase two option allows folks to jump in to the $1.25 million prototyping effort without having been awarded a phase one SBIR or STTR. In addition, this also is focused on companies that might have already gotten a phase one, but did not win their sequential phase two, or they did not have that stakeholder support at that time. So the open topic direct to phase two is open to any US small business. It is open to companies regardless of whether they've won a phase one SBIR or STTR. And the US Air Force is doing two open topic direct to phase two solicitations a year. We are right here in the fall direct to phase two submission window. The official solicitation will be released on October 24th and will be due November 22nd. So we have a little bit over a month right now to get all the pieces pulled together for this. If you're looking at the next solicitation drop, will be in the May-June timeframe of next year for direct to phase two, and the next phase one cycle will be here in February-March timeframe for next year. So what you should expect this round. The Department of the Air Force is likely to fund about 70 to 110 of the phase two submissions that they get. It is a $1.25 million max award with a period of performance of 21 months. A customer memorandum is required, and there's only one submission per company per solicitation. So for this open topic direct to phase two round, it is one submission for that round. And the goal here is to build on a prototype project to prove that there is viability for scaling that capability and technology inside the Air Force. So as part of this, there's a selectable not funded process. That might be an outcome if you are not selected and funded. The selected not funded is something to just keep in mind that, hey, your proposal might have been technically good enough, but there might not have been enough funding for you for this round. If you've received one of these before, this going after the direct to phase two again is another shot for you to get funded. And if you do get one of these, not all hope is lost. There are definitely some opportunities to activate other funding sources to get that selectable not funded on contract and for you to continue doing that prototype development work. So you might be wondering, well, what are the evaluation criteria for this open topic process? What does it mean? What are they looking for? So going back to a little bit what we talked about earlier, right? They're looking for dual use commercial technologies that have an application to a defense need. And so as you're taking a look at the written criteria, it's commercialization potential. What is the opportunity for the private sector to benefit from the development of this technology? You have to remember that SBIR and STTR funds are meant to be used as research and development money to further build out a capability or prototype. So you want to be sure that you are talking about your commercial success as you're looking at the open topic process. So you want to talk about what your revenues are. You want to talk about, you have any pre-sales? Do you have any pilots that you're working with? How many active users do you have? Downloads? Or really just trying to highlight here, what is that traction or adoption that you're looking on, that you have there? And then the other thing you want to look at is how is this going to succeed after the prototype effort? What other commitments are there going to be? So we know that this isn't just a one-off research effort, that this ends up being something that is long-term successful. So as you're talking about the commercialization potential of your product, it isn't only about that Air Force use case. It can also be about the use cases in the different services. It could be about use cases in other parts of government. So if you have a technology that's broadly applicable, you want to make sure that you're engaging with folks across the board. The second evaluation criteria is the defense need. So who in the Air Force actually needs this capability? And we'll talk a little bit later about the customer memorandum, but you want to make sure you're using the required template and the specific template that is for this particular round. You want to make sure it's signed by the right end user and customer, and the TPOC. That's a new requirement for this round. And you want to be very specific about what they need. You don't want to just say, hey, the Air Force needs this because they can be better. You want to say the Air Force needs our AI ML capability because the outcome of using our solution is that you're able to get fine-grained details and controls over your security logs for a particular mission set. And you want to nail that down to the particular unit that is engaged with. So as you're looking at this, you absolutely need a customer memorandum, and that needs to be submitted as part of your package. They did a great thing this round, where included in the customer memo templates, there are some documentation around explaining what the customer memo is. So we'll go over that here in a little bit. Just remember, as you're filling out that form, you want to be as specific as possible. And a lot of that content you can then lift and shift into your proposal around what is the specific and identified defense need. And if you can go all the way down to like, hey, there's a program element line, there's budget associated with this problem, that would be amazing. And you can use some commercially available tools like usaspending.gov to dig into some of that. All right, then the third evaluation criteria is centered around the technical approach. So this is talking about like, hey, do you have time travel technology? If so, tell us how. Don't just say we have this magic technology in a box and it works really well. Or we have this secret cool AI ML sauce. What you want to do is say, hey, we have this amazing battery technology, and here is how the chemical composition of that works. You have to remember that the proposals you're submitting are proprietary in nature and are not going to be released publicly. So you can and should dive into these very specifically around what are your technical innovations, how do you know that this is going to work, what is the technical merit behind this effort, and what is the innovation of your technical approach. So if you're proposing a new type of battery cell, what does that look like? And how does that work in the way that it does? And get into the science. What makes that different? Is this a solid state lithium battery? Is this a different type of electrolyte? Like, tell the reviewer more in that case. And that's what you really want to see in the technical merit approach. And the other thing is you want to highlight your team. Why is it the right team to go after these efforts? Who are the people? Why do they have the right backgrounds in the space? And how can they work together to get some of this stuff done? So those are things you want to take a look at and get an understanding of as you're building out your technical approach for this. I see some questions coming in. Just a reminder for folks, if you have questions, pop them into the Q&A. And as soon as we're done with the slides here in the next 2 to 3 minutes, then we'll jump into a Q&A session as well. I'll happy to answer anyone's questions around what we're doing here. So diving into the customer memorandum, we want to make sure that you are formally capturing the interest and intent of that end user and customer. Again, that Air Force end user is someone that's utilizing the technology on a day-to-day basis. And that customer is the person who has the decision authority to purchase those items. And often in the military, those are different organizations and entities that have the budget and purchasing authority versus the people that are actually using the capability and execution. You have to include that signed memo from the Air Force end user, customer, and TPOC. You're required to have all of those sections as part of the process. And then the other key thing you want to do as part of that memorandum is clearly define what those milestones are and discuss that with your stakeholders. This is an opportunity to co-create those milestones and define what that prototype effort is. You really want to know what those stakeholders need as part of this development process. If you're deploying a new type of battery capability, you want to make sure that it fits the right form, size, weight, and power that the end user actually requires. Are they putting that in radios? Are they putting that in vehicles? Are they putting that in planes? They all have different types of requirements. So you want to make sure you're capturing that and defining that as part of the prototype process. And the other key thing to look for is you want to be sure that you are submitting the right customer memorandum form. So this is the latest screenshot of the latest version. And you can see it's linked here for easy access for when we send out the slides afterwards. And you want to make sure it's using this 24.4 direct to phase 2 version. So if you have any questions on that, happy to hop into the Q&A and help answer that. For the open topic proposal, these are all the different pieces that you need for your submission. The big things are going to be your technical volume. When the solicitation officially drops in a week, we will get to know if it's a 15 or 25 page paper. It's been 25 in the past, and that's where I think they're going to lean on this year. And you need that signed customer memo as well. And the other big thing is to lay out your work plan and your cost volume. Those are the pieces that trip people up a lot. And the rest of these other pieces are the normal government requirements for submitting a government proposal. And if you have any questions around that, happy to answer. So some key tips and tricks for how do you win a direct to phase 2 proposal opportunity out here. And the first thing you want to do is make sure you're clearly stating what your research and development or test and evaluation aspects of your proposal are. So we'll go back to that battery example. If you have a new type of battery technology, what is it that you are further developing? Are you talking about scaling it up? Are you talking about using it in different use cases and validating, hey, can this be used in an airplane? Does this work at altitude versus does it work in super hot or cold temperatures? What is that research and development nature of your technology? Make sure that's included in your technical merit section. That's a key part of what you're building on here. And your work plan and milestones need to be clearly research and development or test and eval focus, as that is what the SBIR and STTR money is for. And then ensure you're getting the right signatures on the customer memos. You need to have 2 different signatures, one person for the customer, one person for the end user. And one of those might also be your TPOC, but you need 2 different individuals signing. Often they are not in the same organization, but sometimes they are. So you could have people within the same organization sign as long as you can clearly delineate why they have the purchasing authority and the end use authority. And then you need to have a bought-in technical point of contact for your defense need. So you want to make sure someone that is actively engaged and involved in the process. You want to make sure that you are being very clear with them on, hey, this is what our project is for. This is what we're developing. The more advocacy and engagement you have from that TPOC to have a clearly defined prototype, the more successful you can be in this process, as they will help bring in the other stakeholders for the signatures on these MOUs. And then you want to make sure you're talking about your commercial success and the opportunity for your commercial product in numbers. Have you raised money? If so, how much and from whom? Have you made sales? Again, if so, how much and to whom? Include their logos, include those numbers, include a chart around the revenue for your company. You want to make sure that you're including this information in there. And then talk about real stories of how this can be applied in the Department of Defense. Go into specific use cases as you've, to submit to a direct to phase 2, you need to already have done that customer discovery and the feasibility study. So you probably have some narrative around why you think this is useful and how is it going to change how the DoD operates. Tie it into the larger operational imperatives discussion about how does this fit in with the strategic goals of the Air Force. Talk about that in a very specific story of how your capability is going to have an impact on how the warfighter operates on a day-to-day basis. So that covers over, hey, what questions, how to be successful in the direct to phase 2 process. You might be wondering, who are we at the Outpost and what do we do? We're here to help companies grow and scale in the defense space. Deeply passionate about this as we help build a lot of the programs in the innovation space and AFWERX and the open topic process. Want to see that continue to be successful. Over the last few years, we've helped over 200 companies win over $367 million in the space. And we've done everything from SBIRs, STTRs, other transactions, commercial solutions openings, and we've helped companies win all across the government space, from DARPA, NASA, NIH, all the DoD services. So it's been a lot of fun getting to work with some really amazing people here on the Outpost and just helping build successful companies across the board. So really enjoying that. So now opening it up for Q&A. Let's chat. Please feel free to jump into the Q&A section. It would be great to answer any questions you might have and help answer what you want to know about the direct to phase 2 process. All right, I'll pull up our questions. John Abbey, can you explain more about the options for selectable, not funded? Is this the sole source authority for DAF buyers, other federal agencies? So for a selectable, not funded, it is selected. You still need to get awarded to be eligible for the direct award authority. But because you already went through the competition process for this round, you can absolutely use that as a direct award or sole source for this capability. You'd have to activate this contract if you want to execute on these milestones. And I think you need an awarded contract for the direct award authority for other follow-on efforts. John, I'm happy to have a deeper conversation with you about this as well. It's a very nuanced question and very specific to your use case as well. All right, team. What other questions do we have? Feel free to raise your hand or jump in raise your hand or type it in Q&A and we can make it happen. Gary, how much detail do you need to include for the budget of the 1.25 million? You need to be specific enough so that the Air Force knows what they're paying for and can do a cost comparison if necessary. So you can pull together the required funding amounts and say, hey, they're paying for something that is reasonable and you don't have a line item in there for $100,000 for a coffee cup handle. You want to make sure that you are using the right labor rates from GSA for your personnel, and then you have reasonable rates for your time and materials in other places. All right, and Bob, you asked, hey, how do I know if my technology is ready for a direct to phase 2? In being ready for a direct to phase 2, the things you want to be aware of are, do you have traction in the commercial space? To be competitive for this process, you want to make sure that you have shown traction in the commercial world, or you've gotten funding, you've made initial sales. So this way you can say, yes, there's an opportunity for this market to grow. I'd say that's one of the indicators. Hey, are you ready for directive phase 2? The second key thing you want to know is, have you done your customer discovery? Have you done a feasibility study? Do you have people who are willing to sign the customer memorandum? If you have those two pieces in place, then yes, you're ready to pursue directive phase 2. Recheck, great to see you, man. You have a TAC-5 question. All right, so if a customer is giving money that AFWorks will match, does the customer money have to be RDT&E dollars? Can it be O&M? Can it be procurement dollars? Yeah, so for a TAC-5 matching funds, you can definitely use other types of money. And as you're building out your milestones, you want to make sure that those types of money are applied to the appropriate types of milestones. And you can't use RDT&E money for procurement efforts. So you want to make sure that the types of money are aligned with the milestones in your milestone chart. All right. We got a question from Alex. Are there matching funds opportunities for the direct to phase 2 process? There are not matching funds opportunities for the direct to phase 2. If you do have matching funds for your award, then you can definitely submit that as part of the AFWorks submission process. Something that was done before, they're considering it again, but it's a big thing to take a look at and think about is, hey, the matching funds are a sign of your defense need and a sign of your government transition strategy. Those are the big things that you want to help communicate when you bring matching funds to the table. All right, team, we've answered all the open questions right now. Is there anything else that I can help answer at this time? Gary, is the rank of the customer signing the customer memorandum important? It is not there's no requirement in the direct to phase 2 customer memorandum process. The request is that they have someone who at least has the understanding and purview of that mission set. So whether it's the end user side or it's the customer side, you want to make sure they at least have some ownership of that process. So if you're getting a lieutenant to sign or an airman to sign, they probably don't have decision-making authority over that particular area. You want to make sure they have decision-making authority for that organization. But it's encouraged that we find end users and customers of all different ranks. It's about as long as they have decision-making authority over that process. There's no requirement as there are for TAC-FI or STRAT-FI applications. All right. We have a couple minutes left. So if there are any more questions, I will jump in and answer those. Otherwise, thank everyone for their time today. I really appreciate the questions. Hey, Recheck. Yeah, so your question was around TAC-FI matching funds. You don't need to only have 3,600 money for that. You can use different types of money. You just want to make sure that you are using that money to the appropriate milestones. So you can't use R&D money for a procurement milestone and vice versa. If you have any particular questions that weren't answered during the call, also happy to shoot me an email or give me a call. Happy to answer these things afterwards. All right, everyone. I hope you have a good day. Thanks, Recheck.